podcasting will be a thrill. Grandpa and chill, grandson and friends. Grandpa and chill in full effect. We talk about it all, yeah, put it all on the set with that pet craze too. We chillin' with Rosie, come through, stay tuned, yeah, listen closely. Cause this the millennials and the silent generation coming together, discussion in rotation. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Hi, I'm Brenda Fox, and you're listening to another episode of Grandpa and Chill. Unless my audio cuts out halfway through, then this will be silence, and you'll enjoy some peace and quiet. Today, we have on the amazing Jean Peelen, and as always, our amazing producer, Sierra, my good friend and amazing co-host, Phines, and this old guy here, Grandpa. There we go. Welcome to our show.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Really getting a good podcast voice, Brandon.
Hi,
Jean.
welcome.
Hi. So nice to have you on.
Hello.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Happy to have you.
I'm
Thanks.
Brandon. Barton goes by Grandpa.
I figured Sierra
Phines
needed some
and
more
Sierra.
estrogen in this
so
room.
happy to have you on.
Hello?
Yes. Hi.
Do we lag out?
Hello.
Hi, Jean. I can hear
Good,
Jean.
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
You might like
Can
out.
you hear us now, Jean?
I'm Phines.
I can hear you.
Perfect. Where are you calling in from today?
Okay.
Can you hear
Yes, we hear you.
me? Flat Rock, North Carolina.
Oh, I'm not too far. I'm over in.
Ever heard of it?
Nice.
I'm in Georgia, so I've been up
Oh.
to Asheville before, but
Yeah, I'm about like 10 miles south of Asheville.
oh, amazing, so cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great, beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
oh yeah, go for
How
it.
long have you been up there?
I've been here 4
Or just asking
years.
How long she's been there?
I've been here about 4 years,
Wow.
and I live in a tiny house, in a tiny house village, 400 square feet.
Ooh.
Sort of like a New York
Nice.
apartment.
Seen those on
That is
YouTube.
tiny.
Or my apartment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Ah, yeah.
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 I really love it. It's a whole village of tiny houses. And so it's a village of people who want to live, with a smaller footprint in the world,
Yeah.
live less expensively, more simply.
How
So that's what I'm doing.
how did you
the
find
mountains.
that? What was your
Do you guys have
transition?
adult-
Did you build the tiny house, or was it a community to move into?
No, I bought it. The transition was I was living on an island. I like to change locations about every 10 years. And I was living on an island just off the west coast of Florida, on Anna Maria Island. And I moved there from Washington, D.C. I moved there because I had never lived near water. And I wanted to see what that was like. So I lived there for about 7 years, 8 years. And then I realized I had never lived near mountains. And I wanted to see what mountains were like. And so I just started looking I started researching tiny houses because I also wanted to go small.
Yeah.
And I found this tiny house village. At that time, it was called the Village of Wildflowers, which was very romantic and lovely. But it was no internet and unpaved roads. But then a corporation bought it, and now it's all fancy with clubhouse and bocce ball courts and dog parks and, fancy stuff.
How's the bocce ball?
But it's great.
Dang. I was going to ask if you guys had a bodega.
Sorry, Fana.
Yeah, no bodegas.
And I was going to ask if they had. Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Yeah, it's a good way to
someone
live.
should get one. Get a nice couple.
And I have to tell you, what's
So, do you have
interesting
any
is that
preference
I have
now?
no idea if you're interested in this topic, but what's interesting is that when I first
yeah.
moved in here, it was almost entirely seniors like me. And so it was at the lowest, people were in their early 60s, 70s, 80s. And I think maybe because housing got tighter and tighter, this option became more and more attractive. And so now a whole lot of younger people have moved in, and a whole lot of the community has gotten a lot more colorful. And we have straight couples, we have gay couples, we have single, straight, and gay people, we have American Indian, Native American people, we have African American people, we have all of a sudden we're becoming a melting pot. It amazes me that this has happened because it was pretty
It
boring.
sounds like New York.
Yeah, sort of. Small scale, tiny
You
scale.
know, I know. Yeah, right. Let's
More space
Yeah.
there than New York for sure. But
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Grandpa? Sorry, I cut you off before.
Well, I was just going to ask Jean, do you have, having lived near water and up in the mountains and other areas, do you have any preference? Do you have a preference as to which type of topography you like?
Well, I have to say I've fallen in love with the mountains. They're just so, the hardwood trees are so incredibly stately and beautiful. Just more than I expected, the beauty of it. But it's really the same deal, whether it's the beach or the mountains. What's attractive is that I think they both have like healing properties. You know, they just do. You can go to the beach and sit on the beach and look out at whether it's the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic or wherever, and you can feel the healing vibrations. And it's the same in the mountains. It's the same when you're in the woods. You know, so I can't.
If you
pick a
care
favorite.
to, are you able to make friends there? Other people that live in the
Yeah.
development?
Yeah, I'm very surprised. I mean, I've lived in townhouses and condos and regular houses, and this is really a community. There's a big feeling of community here, and I really like that. So that I know, you know, if I'm in trouble, I just have to yell, you know, or text my next door neighbor or whatever, and somebody will be there, which is unusual. When I lived on the island in a condo community, I lived in a building with, I think it was 8 condos, and then there were buildings all around, and I knew no one there. So I'm really
That's a
happy.
more friendly,
Yeah,
the more friendly environment.
Do you have a lot
Right,
of friends in
for sure.
your senior place, Grandpa? Because it's mostly seniors, right?
They're all old people.
Grandpa's only 26, so
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
no,
You're looking good.
I know a lot of people here, but I haven't made a lot. Well, I have a few friends, yes,
Yeah.
but not a lot.
yeah.
Well, what's interesting, I don't know if your grandpa has experienced this, but my entire life I was a ridiculous extrovert. I mean, just, you know, I was the partier and the social person and the love to be around people, I'd never met before. And something, and I don't know if it's due to age or the pandemic, one of those, or maybe the combination, but I have spent probably 90% of my time in the last year and a half by myself, you know, not seeking out any social activities. I mean, I gave up Taco Tuesday trivia. You know, I'm just not interested in it. I'm enjoying being by myself. That's the truth.
Did you live alone in this tiny
Yeah.
home all through COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I've
Yeah.
experienced
And there's something
sorry.
good about it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's all.
I've experienced the same thing. I've always had roommates. I've always lived in major cities around a lot of people, and this during COVID was the first time that I've like lived by myself in a very tiny space and not really, you know, there was a long time where I didn't go out at all. And but for
Yeah.
me, I mean, maybe it's a little different. It was pretty difficult, but I can imagine that it would be peaceful, sort of in North
It is.
Carolina. Yeah, yeah.
It is. It really
Yeah.
is.
We talked about it off air a little bit, but I would love if you could give our audience just a bit of a background, sort of your brief life story and how you came to be on the show, etc.
Sure. Sure, I'd love to. I'm not a creature of habit. I really feel the need every so often to just reinvent what I'm up to in life or who I am or whatever. So I was a New Jersey conservative Republican girl, married a minister, had 2 children. At age 35, I was divorced and in law school. And it's because of everything that happened with the civil rights movement in the 60s and 70s. And in fact, it was an incident around the Martin Luther King assassination that made me know I wanted to go to law school. So I went to law school for 3 years and then went to Washington, D.C., where I got a job in the Office for Civil Rights. Then it was HEW. Then it became the Department of Education, and had a wonderful, fun career there, enforcing civil rights in education. So it was like the rights of kids with disabilities in public schools. Of course, it was about sexual harassment. It was about, I helped write the policy on women in athletics that opened up athletics to girls in high school and young women in colleges. And it was exciting and wonderful, and I loved every minute of it. And then I retired, and I decided to become a model. I retired at 59 and just decided, because there was a television on in my office my last day of work when I was packing up, and a commercial came on that said, "So you want to be a model?" I thought, oh, hey, yeah, there's a good idea. And it was a commercial for some kind of rip-off thing where you went to a hotel and you, with 100 or 1,000 other people, and you walked in front of a panel of talent agents. And anyway, I ended up modeling for the next several years for commercials, TV commercials, print ads. What do you call those? Not documentaries, those ads like 15 minutes late at night that are on with the eye surgeon or the skincare line or something. And on Home Shopping Network, and just had a fun time. When I moved to Florida, I did a lot of modeling for Disney for print ads. I was the grandmother in a lot of ads. And then I got bored and moved to Florida, to my little island, and ran for office and did that for several years, fighting developers who were trying to ruin the island, who has pretty much successfully done so. And then I just decided to retire again to North Carolina. So I've retired several times. That's it.
That's amazing.
That's the background.
Sounds
And I'm
like
the
you've had a
grandmother
real
of 7.
interesting life.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's been great. And now I'm retired and writing a book about my life.
Ah.
But it's a weird book. It's weird. It's a memoir, but it's, when I started going back and thinking about my life, I kept thinking, oh, I should write about it. And I started to write down memorable things. And it was stuff like, well, I met this person here and I did this here and that here. Then I thought, wait a minute, there's a lot of memories there that are like nothing important, but they've stayed in my mind for 80 years or 75 years or whatever. Why did that particular memory stay in my mind? And then I heard an interview with Cicely Tyson. And she said the sentence that just stayed with me. She said, "We're made up of the scraps of our lives." I thought, oh, wow, damn. And so I started writing about all the smaller moments, and writing about like a moment in time, like this happened, 1945. This happened 1950, whatever. I've now got, and some of them it was just, I wrote it in poetry, some in prose. Now I've got like 50 chapters. I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
Wow.
I can't imagine that agent's going to take it or any publisher's going to want it, but I've had a great time. That's what I did during the pandemic, really.
It's amazing.
Wow. I love that. That's great.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's fun.
Where did you dream your life going when you were 12 at this?
Well, when I was 12, I wanted to be a cowboy, so
Oh,
that
nice.
didn't work out so well.
You could still do it.
When I was, yeah, when I was, it was a lifelong affair with horses. I just love them. Um, when I was in high school, we used to have stuff called the Cooter preference tests, which were given to everybody. And the tests were blue for boys and pink for girls. Seriously, the covers were pink for girls. And my choices, when I took the preference test, my choices came out to be that I should be a nun or a social worker. Neither of which appealed, I have to say. And years and years later, when I was working for civil rights, a complaint was filed against the the test company, about that very thing. This is like, 20 years later, 30 years later. And I got to handle the complaint. And they said, the reason why mine or others come out the way they did is because for girls, they said the way they did the tests was they would take people who were out in the field. Say if you had 100 doctors, and you would ask them what their preferences in life were. And then the person taking the test, if they sort of matched up. But they said there weren't enough female doctors to make it viable. The way they constructed the test, they didn't even include the options to be a doctor or a lawyer in the test that they gave to girls. Because they said there weren't enough real people in the real world to compare you to. Isn't that wild?
That's really, it is wild. And yeah. I was thinking that when you were saying that, the joke that came in my head was like, I know there's no cowboy for the options they're going to give you.
Right.
That's what messed it all up for you. You've been a cowboy by now.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
I, I have a lot. I mean, you do so much really cool stuff, and you've made so many changes in your life. What am I interested in the most? I guess when did you start? You said you were raised in a Republican conservative type of a life. New Jersey, you said.
Yep.
When did you start? When did you start making that the turn, or was it after you got? Was it 35?
No, I was about 30. And I was living in Mobile, Alabama with my husband, the minister, was the assistant pastor at a big old church there. Needless to say, a big old white church there. And an incident happened. There was one employee who was Black, and that he was the custodian for the church. His name was Alfred Scott. And Mr. Scott had been there for 40 years, being the custodian, and put a couple of kids through college. When we were first day we were there, we were introduced to him, but only as Alfred. This is Alfred. And my husband asked his last name, and he gave us his last name. And from then on, we addressed him as Mr. Scott. When Martin Luther King was assassinated, Mr. Scott asked for time off to go to the funeral and asked the senior pastor, and the church was in shock that he would want to go to Martin Luther King's funeral. And there was a huge disruption in the church. They wanted to fire him and he wanted to go because he was uncle to Coretta Scott King. And the church members, of course, hadn't known that because they had never known his last name after 40 years. And so it was so shocking to me that there were horrible accusations that he's a communist, that he had infiltrated our church. It was unbelievable. And he did not end up getting fired. He went to the funeral and he came back to his post until he retired from there. I left the church within 6 months. I couldn't do it. I could not be there because when we had only been there for 4 months. And when we arrived in Mobile, Alabama, we were greeted by sweet, lovely people with bunches of camellia flowers to welcome the new pastor and his family. And they were so lovely. And I thought, oh, everything I've heard about Alabama just must not be so. These are lovely people. And so it was the biggest wake-up call. It was my road to Damascus wake-up call. The world is not as I had thought. So that started me on, I owe everything. Matter of fact, in the book, I write about that meeting that that event I just told you about. And I wanted to find a picture of Mr. Scott to put after that chapter. And I searched the internet and I found his relatives. I found his granddaughter. And she didn't know anything about that story. I mean, she knew he had worked for the church for years and years. He died in 2013. And she was thrilled that I was writing about him because he's just a hero. And they sent me a picture. And his name is Alfred Lloyd Tennyson Scott. Great name. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. That's a long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry.
Well, no. Actually, you know what? It just makes me. I was just thinking about like you being extroverted and going like, this is adds like, oh, look at all this knowledge from being an extroverted person and talking to people. Me, I'm like not as extroverted. I'm all right. But I just am giving you kudos to like, I can see you being extroverted. That helping you. That's what the end of that story made me think. I mean, among the other things, that was pretty funny. Funny, sad way. But it is kind of going like, also, if I was him going back to work after you go back from that funeral, like it just being so awkward. You got to go back to work because you've been there 40 years. But then at the same time, it's like, man, these people are.
But, I don't know how it could have gotten even worse for him because he was not even acknowledged, by anyone in that church. I had asked before this incident happened, I had asked if he and his family attended church there, like dummy from New Jersey, attending church there. And I was quickly reassured, no. He doesn't want to attend church here. He bought Bibles for the church out of his salary. But what they did, he said, was they put loudspeakers in the church hall so that Mr. Scott could hear the church service. So he wasn't even seen.
That is,
terrible. Yeah.
It was
that's like that's like 67-ish time, right? The late 60s.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts.
And that was it. That kicked it off for me. I just started I didn't go to law school till 75, till I was 35. But I was doing civil rights stuff all over the place. And the reason I knew I had to go to law school was to have a voice that would, could get listened to.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
you have a real love for people.
Yeah. I think I have a love for voiceless people or groups, or, I fostered dogs for years and cats. I don't even like cats, but I fostered them because they had no say in their lives, no say in their futures. And it's the same thing, with kids in school, kids with disabilities, kids of color, kids of, sexual identification. They have no choices. They have no power. And so, my heart always goes out to people with no voice.
Has your education in law been helpful to you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, it was really boring. Law school was horribly boring. I've never been in a library that I didn't like till I got to law school. And it's just awful. All the books look alike in law school library. They're all got the same bindings, just different writings on them. And it was very boring. And I was at the University of Alabama School of Law. So, you got to figure this out. There was one female professor. There were very few of females in the class. It was not, the experience of law school was not fun, but I learned a whole new way of thinking. I learned a whole new way of advocating. Up till then, it had been signs in the street. And I learned a whole new way, of dealing with bad things, things I didn't like or things that needed change, which was a calmer and sometimes more efficient way. And it gave me the power to talk to like legislators, most of whom are attorneys anyway. It gave me the tickets, to be heard and to be allowed to make the argument, to be in the room. I want to be in the room where it happens,
Jean, did I understand you to say that your husband, who was a minister, became the minister for the church in the South?
He was the associate pastor or assistant pastor or something at that church. It was a big church.
So was he as liberal as you are, in his feelings about things? Because
he became so.
It sounds like he might have an issue with their mentality.
Yeah, he was. So it sort of evolved more slowly with him, but he quit the church too about, after I did, about 6 months, a year after I did, left the church entirely, or didn't leave it entirely. He went into the Army as a chaplain, which was a weird thing to do. He wanted to be sent to Vietnam because that was Vietnam days. Instead, they sent him to Korea. So he was gone for a year. He's a good man. He's still a good man. He's got always had a new wife for 20-something years, and he's got a touch of dementia. But he's a good man, a good heart, a good soul, an honest man. I mean, I'm happy that he was my husband, and my kids got a great father. But so he was as liberal. He's just not as much out in the streets as I was, causing fusses, advocating.
So you were a rabble rouser.
I think that's right. I think that's probably a good description. Yeah.
I've known people, or I've met them, that since they were 12, they were trying to be a lawyer, and a lot of them failed, and it was like the most immensely difficult thing. So I can only imagine the challenge of sort of in your 30s, you said, right? Even like starting that journey and then getting,
Yeah. It wasn't easy. At 35, I had some child support, but I had 3 jobs while I was in law school.
Wow.
To do. And it was tough. But I'll tell you what's, like sick about my generation. Grandpa, you'd listen to this one. What's sick about my females in my generation was that here I was in law school trying to get good grades, trying to get through, working 3 jobs, raising 2 kids, and I had a boyfriend in the law school who was 11 years younger than me. And he wanted to be on the law review, which is, the pinnacle of being in law school, to get on law review. I would have liked to be on law review, but I didn't have the time to work on it. I ended up typing his paper for law review. There's something sick about that, right? His daddy was paying for him to be in law school. He did not work at all. And but it's not on him, it's on me. It's that female thing.
You must have liked him a lot.
Well, I did like him a lot. Yeah, I did. Yeah. But my gosh, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I don't think it's all on you though. It's like a systematic, setup and pre-training before you even were born. Yeah. I was gonna say though, I was holding this thought because it was so good. About you going to law school and finding it so boring, and some of the reasons why I do think law, like, and civil rights are like speaking for the people is like they're two different languages, and it's like a whole different world out there, um, of trying to make change.
Yes,
And it's cool that went to go learn about it and then came out and going, that shit was still lame. No, I mean,
it was.
like it's very, it makes me feel, gives me good feelings. That I really appreciate you going through there, because I've tried to read law books and really like in-depth like philosophy, and this is like, I don't know, it just feels like it's in a different language for no
I
reason.
know. It's true.
Just to be a just to just to separate two people, are, yeah, no, I just thought that was interesting. So cool, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
you will enjoy. When I was in law school, I was so I didn't, like I said, I wasn't enjoying it, and so I took up knitting. Now this is going to be weird. This is also a chapter in the book. I took up knitting, like Madame Defarge, knitting during the French Revolution. That's how I pictured myself, and I would knit through my law classes. And because I had a good friend who would take notes, and she would lend me her notes from the class. So I would knit and knit. And there was one professor, criminal law professor, named Clint McGee, who was a sexist and racist, and as they come. And I would knit all through his class. And every once in a while, I would look up at him and just stare at him, especially when he was cracking jokes and whatever. And so he went to the dean of the law school to complain that this knitter woman, that's what they called me, the knitter woman was disrupting his class. And so the dean, instead of kicking him out of the office, called me in and said, why are you glaring at the law professor, the criminal law professor? And I said, because he told a sexist and racist joke. And he said, what was the joke? And I said, I'm not going to repeat it for you. And he said, oh, okay. And that was the end of that. Well, the professor, not to be outdone, called in several male students from the class. Now, in law school, I don't know if in law school, you don't have tests along the way. You just have one final exam for every course. And no papers, no tests, just one final exam. Everything rides on that. And in law school, your identity is kept secret on those exams. I mean, you have a number. The law professor doesn't know who wrote it. And since they've not seen your writing before, it's a good system. They can't take out anything they don't like about you on you. So he called these students in and said to them, the knitter woman is really upsetting this whole class. And it's got me so upset, it could affect the grades for the whole class. And I think you guys need to do something. Isn't that amazing? This was 1976. So they sent a representative.
What was he gonna do?
Huh?
Oh, okay. I was wondering what I'm sitting to see what
Yeah,
they're
well,
gonna do.
they sent a representative to me, and as I say in the book, he stood there all young and white and told me what the professor had said, and he said, I don't think you realize, what damage you can be causing. You can be harming all of us. I think you're a very nice person. So could you stop what you're doing in class? I don't know what your rules are here, but on speaking, but I said, listen, I know you're a very nice person too. Now fuck off. That's what I said. And that was the end of that. Everything was out front still in the 70s. Everything, all the stuff was right out front where you could see it. At least in Alabama it was. So,
Jean, not to kind of drift away from basically what we're talking about right now, but regarding the situation going on today, you're a very caring person. I'm sure, like many people, are very bothered or upset by what's going on right now in Europe and with Russia
absolutely,
and Ukraine. And I just wondered if you might give us some sort of an idea of what your thoughts are.
Well, I have no wisdom about it. I think, like the rest of the world, I stand in awe of the Ukrainian president. I stand in awe of the Ukrainian people. I just cannot comprehend that this little place has stood up to a superpower and in such amazing fashion. And, the sacrifice and bravery that just flashes before our eyes on YouTube, on FaceTime, on Facebook, on Instagram every day. I just cannot imagine. I have no words of wisdom except I wish that we'd send actual arms to them.
And they've just announced that they're not going to send aircraft from, I believe, from Poland.
Yeah, I think they're scared. Well, because there were conditions that it had to fly from a U.S. base in Germany, and I think they being the current administration is deathly afraid of nuclear war. Honestly, I think that's what's standing in the way.
For good reason. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I wish I had some wisdom about it.
We're going to live in this fear for who knows how long and how far Putin will go.
Correct.
How do you feel about some of the? How do you feel about all of the different laws being enacted across the U.S. with regards to LGBTQ youth?
Oh gosh, what do you think?
Since that's something that you used to work with.
Yeah. I think it's horrendous. Florida, I'm so glad I'm out of Florida. North Carolina's only about halfway better. But my God, Florida, say.
Living there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Idaho's doing something similar, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and Georgia probably isn't far behind, Brandon, I will say. It's just, it's just horrendous what Trump did to this country. I don't want to go off on a rant, so I won't. But what happened when he was elected president, and all of in a good way, all of the frustrations and anger of people, of minimalized people in this country came raging out. And then all the mentally ill people and the ignorant people all joined with them, and the leadership of the Republican Party encouraged it at every step of the way. And it is just shameful, horrible. I don't know even what to say about it. Except every time, in my lifetime, I feel as though I've seen, for instance, on the issue of a woman's right to choose, I've seen what seemed like total victory. The Supreme Court decision, Roe v. Wade, happened, I think, when I was in law school. And I remember being so happy about it. And one of the very conservative law professors said to me, just wait around. Another Supreme Court will come. Things will change. And I said, no, it can't now. This is the law of the land. But I see nothing is forever. Nothing. Everything is changeable. And it's very depressing.
Yeah.
It's a scary thought.
Good thing we were all born up this
You're
way.
working on
it. Be a good thought too.
Hmm?
Am I understanding that you're working on your book? You have not published a book yet.
Have not. It's written, and I've sent it out to some beta readers, and I picked people who didn't know me well, because I didn't want people who felt like they had to say nice things. And I've gotten really good feedback on it. And so now the next step is to send it out. It's extremely difficult to get an agent. And I want a New York agent. I don't want a, Tuscaloosa agent. It's extremely difficult to get an agent, and it's like a funnel, and it narrows down. And then it's extremely difficult for the agent to sell the book to a publisher. From what they tell me, this year is extremely bad for memoir, which is what I'm doing, unless you're a reality star, or a criminal, in which case you might can sell your memoir.
Are you not, though? I thought you were
No,
had a whole reality
I
career.
haven't hit that. I was almost on Survivor, almost.
Yeah. Almost. Okay.
Oh
Gotcha.
yeah. What was it that didn't get you to go?
They didn't choose me. It got down to down from like, I don't know, 1,000 applicants down to 30 of us who they brought to California. I went to California, to LA, where they put us in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and you weren't allowed to talk to anybody because all your fellow potential contestants were in there in the hotel with you. And they put us through so many interviews with Mark Burnett, who created the whole Survivor show, through psychological tests, through stuff. And I got down to the final 20, and they were choosing 16. And I didn't make it. Yeah. So I wanted to go. I just wanted to go. I wanted to do it. It would be exciting, I thought.
I'm sure you would have been great.
But-
Yeah.
Yep.
They're probably like, if she only passed the bar at 31 instead of 35, she would have been perfect on this show.
So tell me what you guys want to accomplish. I know this is you're interviewing me, but tell me what you guys want to accomplish with your podcast.
Grandpa, you go first.
Well, I just want to be helpful to my grandson, and I'm sort of just going along for the ride. I'll put it that way.
Are you enjoying the
I
ride?
think knows what he wants to do. Pardon?
Are you enjoying the ride?
I'm sorry.
Are you enjoying
Yeah,
the ride?
I've met a lot of very interesting, nice people like yourself, and our co-hosts, Phines and Sierra are great, and I enjoy working with them and meeting all these new faces and new people. It's a nice experience, so I'm enjoying it.
And how about you two?
I would say the really interesting thing for me is that the generational perspective, like when Phines and I think we had recorded like one podcast episode before I even talked to my grandfather, and it was something we were really interested in. But then my grandfather called me out of the blue around the same time. Was like, "Hey, have you heard of this new thing called podcasts?" And that was about a year and a half ago. And when we were talking, just the different perspectives of your generation and our generation, I felt like that was a niche that I had never heard before. And talking on the phone with him, it was always like such a nice and different and made me think perspective that I couldn't find in any media, really, of very young, very old, sort of coming in the middle. This is sort of a way to force my grandfather to hang out with me. So, but
I think that's a great idea.
no, yeah. So like for example, it was something I was thinking of. You're talking about the challenges in law school, right? With the clear sexism that you were going through, and you were like, oh, back then the 70s, right? The 70s, it was all very, and I'm curious of your perspective versus then and now. Has it changed, if at all or not at all? And your grandchildren's experience, I'm not sure how old they are, but I would assume sort of close to Phines and Sierra and I. But
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They range from 15 to 30.
nice. Yeah.
7 of them. I see it for some reason, even though I was raised in New Jersey.
Me too,
I
by the way.
seem
And we
to
have a
see
1 second
things-
lag, so sorry.
Oh, you do? Okay. Oh, I didn't know you were
Yeah,
raised
yeah.
in New Jersey. Where?
Monmouth County.
Okay, I was in Morris County. Um,
Cool.
Even though I was raised there, I really see my real life as starting in Alabama, with that sort of conversion story I told you. And so I see things through a Southern filter. And I've been doing a whole lot of reading recently about the South and the civil rights movement in the South and the heroes of it and the waves of overt and covert racism that have just fed through. And really, that's sort of how I see it. It isn't that things have gotten better or worse, but it's like goes like this. And in the 60s and 70s, it was real in the South. Racism was so evident. I mean, you couldn't miss it. And then it like went underground, for a while. It got like quieter. And now it's been allowed to come up again. And that's how I see it. It is like this. It's never wonderful. It's always horrible when it's horrible, but it's never fixed anywhere. It's never fixed. It's never complete. That's how I see it.
Do you have any suggestions as how we can better the situation? How we can change, I guess, the thinking of some of these people, some of these racists and people like that? Is there any solution to it?
I don't know of any, honestly. I just don't. There may be out there. If I were a Christian, I would say, use your Christian principles and spread love. I'm not a Christian, but I have the same principles, spiritual principles of be love, spread love. I mean, COVID put a lot of stuff to the test for everybody, including for me, in terms of losing people I considered friends beforehand because they suddenly became conspiracy theorists. And all of their crap came out, and I saw who they really were. And that can happen. And for me, the issue always is how to be kind to people who are terrible. I don't know how else to put it. People who, who I don't respect, but I know that kindness and trying to be loving is the only way through. That's how I see it. But I don't think it's a fix. I don't think there's a fix. I think we're screwed up, humankind.
It seems like things are very screwed up in the United States.
Yes.
With a large percentage of the population are they don't care. They don't seem to care about right and wrong at all.
Right. Could be. I don't know. I know my first 6 grandchildren were all females, and every one of them is out there on the front lines. I mean, it's amazing to me. I mean, every one of them is taking stands in their lives. And the 7th is a boy, and he's only 15, so he's still trying to figure out who the hell he is, especially with the amount of estrogen in the family. It's got to be tough to be the only boy. But I don't know. I wish I had some answers. I don't have answers. Luckily, I'm an optimist, so I live a joyful life.
I feel like racism is terrorism, and anytime, I mean, I can't negotiate with a terrorist. There's nothing I can do with that person. I'm pretty much, an infidel or whatever, or however you would phrase the analogy, but they don't want any good for me, and They don't want it. They don't even want any good for anybody that likes me.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. I agree.
Always with the praise with you, Jean. I, oh, see, I agree with so much of what you said. I'm trying to think.
I do have a question for you, Jean. Let's see if Brandon's thing works first. Is it gonna work? Yeah? No? Okay, we're good. Okay. On this podcast, we talk a lot about trying to get the most out of every day and maximize our potential so that we can spend time on things that we really love doing. With Instacart, you can save time and money by getting your groceries delivered right to your door in as little as an hour. With Instacart, you match up with personal shoppers that are local to your area so that they can do the shopping for you. You can add multiple stores to a single order to make sure that you get all of your favorite ingredients. Shoppers also pick out the freshest produce, and they keep your eggs safe, which has always been a huge issue for me personally when I'm trying to order from other grocery services. On Instacart, you can also see highlighted deals so that you can save your money and your time. So get to that passion project that you've been putting off and try out Instacart. If you click on the link in the show notes below, not only will you be supporting Grandpa and Chill because we know you love us, you'll also get free delivery on your first order over $35. So what are we doing here? Click on the link and try out something new. So my mom is like near her 50s, and she is wanting to do some new things and like really go in like a new direction with her life, but she's kind of hesitant. And it's kind of that thing where it's just like, now you have time, all your kids are grown up or whatever. And so it's like, you have time to explore yourself and do whatever you want with your life. But then you're also hit with that feeling of like, yeah, but I'm like 50. So what am I going to do? So I guess my question is like, what would you say to that? What would you say to someone who's feeling that range of emotion?
Well, I'd say, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. She should go for whatever she wants to go for. And matter of fact, 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, two friends and I wrote a book called Invisible No More, The Secret Lives of Women Over 50. So tell her to buy the book on Amazon. She can probably get it for 20 cents used. And it's really all about the fact that once we got over 50, there were no rules anymore because men were less attracted to us. We were not noticed by society. We could stand in the checkout line at a store forever and no one would see us. And we became invisible, sort of, once you're over 50. For females, I don't think it's true for males. But we started writing about, why not do exactly what you want to do at this point? Why not? The why not is bigger than the I'm scared or what if it goes wrong or something. I mean, if your mother has some form of financial security, so she knows she's not going to end up homeless.
Yeah.
If she risks.
No, right.
Then my God, nothing should hold her back. Because that's really, I think, even though I went to law school and did all this stuff, it was really about 50 when I decided I really wanted to just live the way I wanted to live. And I had a saying I used to say all the time. It's called, I am the sole creator of my life. And I said it as though it were true. And it was really something that I just aspired to. I will be the sole creator of my life. Given that, I can do anything. I can live anywhere. I can work doing anything I want to do or not do, or go wherever I want to go. It's tell your mother she's in the biggest time of freedom in her whole life. She's done her mothering, she's done her wifing, whatever. She is in a period of really big choices.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tell her to read the book. She can get it cheap.
Finest, you usually have some words of wisdom.
You know, when I feel like there's some space for it, but she's giving so much wisdom that sit back and let it flow. Nah, just kudos. Yeah, my favorite thing right now is like lean into. My gut always tells me to lean into compassion, even when like I disagree with somebody. And I'm just happy to hear someone else say it. That I'm like, oh yeah, it's I don't feel so alone in this whole thing of like, um, yeah, just I'm getting I guess the wisdom is just nice to, I don't know, feel like hearing somebody that feels the same. And I appreciate it. So I guess I'm listening. Yeah, it's great.
Yay.
Great.
I agree with what Sierra said
Jean,
about terrorists, and I agree with what you say about, compassion. And it's a hard road, compassion, to choose. It's not always easy. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, you had mentioned that you had some of your adult life in modeling. Am I correct about that?
Mm-hmm.
You were a
Yep.
model.
Yep.
Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Oh, it was great. I mean, where else could you go?
Mm-hmm.
You go in and they put makeup on you and they do your hair and they give you clothes to wear and they stand you in front of the camera and say smile. Right? And then they pay you money. Oh my God. I thought it was great. Now, I also realized that in that business, you aren't a person to all the other people. When you go on a shoot, you are not a person. You are, quote, the talent. That's what you're called. Oh, the talent is here. And they don't really give a rat's behind who you are or what your story is or anything. They just want you to do what you're supposed to do. So if your ego can deal with that, and I didn't have any trouble with it, I was having a good time, then it's fine. You're not a real person. But it was fine. It wasn't fine going to a million go-sees and casting calls in New York City because I was living in D.C. at the time, and taking the train up or the Peter Pan bus up there, and standing on lines of people. For every job you got, you auditioned for 20. But I enjoyed the whole process, really. It's fun.
Brandon's mother had a successful career in modeling.
Oh, really? Did she like it, Brandon? Can you speak?
How's my mic now?
Good.
You hear me? Cool.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, I take after my
okay.
father, I would say.
We can hear you.
No, it's very interesting because she is in her late 50s, and she had a very successful career as a model that I think got, I don't know if it was stopped. I'm not 100% sure of the full picture, but like she got pregnant with me, right? And I know that there's things she wanted to do, such as her dream, she said it a lot, was to be a QVC model. Like she wanted to be one of the women or, the people on TV that sort of host. Yeah. And she's never done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think your journey and story would probably be very interesting because you said you were in your late 50s when you even started that. And I read something about QVC on there. I'm not sure if you did it, but yeah.
Yeah, I was 59, and when I was living in D.C., I went and I would model hair care products for QVC because they're located in Pennsylvania. So I did that for years, where they would put stuff on my hair and spike it up and do all kinds of stuff. And then when I moved to Florida, I started modeling for Home Shopping Network, which is located in like St. Pete, and modeling skin creams.
Yeah.
I still have a closet full of the skin creams there. I loved them. So that was an easy gig. That was once you were in, and they'd come on every 3 months. That hosting is difficult. I admire those hosts. Their jobs are insane and inane, but they're so good at what they do. Yeah. A friend and I used to practice being QVC hosts, and we would do things like this. Do you see this pen? This pen? Slim. Look, It is so feminine, so sweet, and purple. It is trending. It is trending. No one can be without a purple pen this year. I mean, that's what they do. And it's a constant flow without getting confused. I admire the hell out of them.
For our audio only listeners, please check out the video on YouTube because you will want to buy a pen if you see what just happened.
It's for sale cheap.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be an amazing
improvisers.
QVC host, Jean, and a good improviser, probably. But
well, I tell you why I wouldn't be is because my memory is screwed up. I mean, it is. I can tell it's being affected by age and possibly by my mother and grandmother both had Alzheimer's, so I'm very aware. Always looking for the signs.
Same with my great grandmother.
Finally, I know what we have in common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Grandpa's mom.
Could be.
I remember it. Yeah. Grew up through that.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have that in the family, you're always looking and you're always measuring yourself against your friends, around your age, to see, well, is it just me or are their memories doing the same thing? And it has to do with short-term memory, So like I know at the time, even like 7 or 8 years ago, that I stopped applying for modeling jobs or that were commercials where I had to memorize lines because I was having difficulty memorizing lines. Just wouldn't stay. And that's always scary because I turned 80 this year and my grandmother started at 80 and my mother started at 80, it became obvious at 80 that they both had Alzheimer's. So it's there, but line is one day I woke up and said, well, you're either going to get it or you're not going to get it. Period. So what is the point?
I mean, you're riding. I think it's very funny that I'm glad you're in a community that you trust everybody, but you're also on your own too. So I'm like, she's out here just doing it. Just like, hey, fuck it. This is great.
It's true.
So you guys are both, Grandpa and Jean, both children of parents with Alzheimer's. There's not any hump you can get over where if you didn't have it by now, you're okay? I mean, no tests you could do? Like,
I don't think so. I don't know about you, Grandpa, whether you've done anything. I went in for one of those when I was in Florida, a local laboratory was advertising. They were looking for subjects for research on an Alzheimer's drug. I think it was Eli Lilly or something was investigating it. And so they put me through like 4 hours of tests. And at the end of it, they decided that I was not a fit for the research they were doing, which turned out anyway to fizzle, became nothing. But they said at the same time, but here are the results. You have some short-term memory loss. It doesn't mean it's Alzheimer's. It could simply mean it's age. We're not diagnosing you with anything. So, I really just, if that's what it is, it's what it is. It's one reason, however, that I stay so busy, and I write and I study and I read and I learn because I want to stay sane. If I'm not going to be sane at some point, I want to stay sane for as long as I can. It's that simple.
I know sometimes I'll forget words that are, I'm very familiar with, but I can't remember the word.
Yep.
Now, I don't know whether that's dementia, Alzheimer, just age.
Yeah, we don't know.
I'm not certain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's a fear. And fear is a stopper. Fear puts a roadblock right in front of you, whether it's fear of, like Brandon performing on stage. I don't know if that's a fear for you, but whatever is a fear threatens to be a roadblock in your own life, in your own development on who you are. And
Are you over that
I
fear?
just wrote a poem. I'll never be over it, no, but I'm coping with it as best I know how. As by surrendering to the fact that I may get it and I may not. There's no answer.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying not to dwell on it.
Mm. You said there was
I
a
wrote a
poem.
poem called The Shadow, which is going in the book, about Alzheimer's. I'd pull it up if I knew how to do anything here. I don't know where. Let me see. Oh, here. Do you want to hear it?
I would love to hear it, Jean.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. It's called the
Let's do
date.
it. Let's do
Every chapter has an age: 2021, age 80. It's called Shadow. My mother fought Alzheimer's. My grandmother died of it. Will I? Will I? Am I running from the already written? Am I just a few steps ahead? Is the curse inevitable? I flex my brain to its limits. I read, I research, I learn. I wish to stay sane. My grandmother began at 80, my mother around the same age. I turned 80 this year. I imagine, I create, I fret, I walk, I study, I take THC. I finally accept whatever is to be. I'm a creature of the universe. I will or won't become demented. I claim every minute as my last. That's it.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you also?
Thanks. And I do take THC, by the way.
Good.
Just think, back in the 60s, I smoked marijuana.
Hey.
Now I take it for my mental health.
Grandpa, we got to get you on
Yes,
THC.
ma'am.
And that, yeah. And
Yes,
now we don't, but
absolutely. Gummies.
It's funny. All I can think of the joke is.
You'd be
You're a free
amazed. In my
spirit.
little senior village here, we have drug dealers. We have who are peddling THC gummies. It's pretty funny, and it's really. I read a study that it helps
that,
with.
man.
It helps prevent Alzheimer's.
I believe it.
So I'm on it.
Or not. I mean, if it's short-term memory loss, and THC also serves as short-term memory loss. If anything, it's just like,
Right.
yeah, I don't know.
They just cancel each other out.
I mean,
It's fine.
That's right.
It's perfect.
Right, exactly. Who cares?
I
And
forgot
I
to
also
forget
say,
this.
like, I
Perfect.
think,
Right.
yeah, right. Older people that have prescriptions and take medicine, yeah, it could be my drug dealer. They know
Yeah,
all
right.
the drugs. They know all the drugs.
Yep.
And all the milligrams.
Well, that's because old
What's
people,
going on?
it's horrible. One of the best topics
A little
of
funny.
conversation is health. So everybody relates everything that's wrong with them and every drug they're taking. So you become experts in conditions you never heard of before because that's all, in my experience, that's all old people talk about.
I'm
is there
26.
arthritis?
And I
That
do
is
the
hilarious.
exact same thing, Gene. And man, I hope I get over this
Oh,
fear. but-
seriously?
oh yes. Oh yes.
All right.
Um,
Wow.
I
I'm surprised.
I do remember working in the hospital and hearing like patients knowing their what they need to take, like really like they knew everything. They know like drop it by 0.5, 0.2, and I was like, how do you know all
Right.
this
Yeah.
Right. I know.
drug science?
Well, I've had 80 years to learn it. It's like now going into a new doctor's office and they hand you, 6 pages to fill out of your history, and you got 80 years of history. You got 80 years of, it says any surgeries, and they give you about
That's
this long to answer it, right? Yeah, I've had about 20. Where do you want me to list them? It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. I start just putting funny answers in there because they don't read this stuff anyway. I mean, they really don't read this shit.
No.
So I just start putting in, when it says sex, I say rarely. Just, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
One of the joys of aging.
Your website is
You can get away with a lot.
your website's titled
Yeah.
oldwomenwhowrite.com, and I'm curious when if you do, when did you start feeling old, or have you never? Grandpa's 200, so
Yeah. What's 200?
No, we're about the same age. You and
Yeah.
I.
Yes. Yes. I started feeling old when I was an elected official, a city commissioner in my little island in Florida. And I was in a meeting with the mayor, who was like in his 40s. And I was talking about the economics of, I don't know what, cleaning up the docks in the city or doing something or fighting the developers. And I went through this whole speech. It was like in early January. And I finished, and he said to me, "Oh, yeah, that sounds good, Jean. Did you get to see the kids over Christmas?" I thought, oh, hell. Oh, hell. He doesn't even see me. I just wasted 20 minutes. He has no
Damn.
interest. And that was the first time ever that I felt old. I had been adjudged to be old. It was pretty impactful for me. It didn't make me feel bad. It was just, another effing roadblock. Just another thing to have to overcome to be taken seriously. Yeah. And I feel old,
Well, you've
when
overcome
my
it very
joints
well.
hurt. Sorry.
Yeah. I just said you seem very young. You have a very seems to me happy outlook on life.
I do.
You just seem like you're very well adjusted, very happy with life.
I am. I did a series of workshops back in the 90s that were transformational workshops. And it made a huge difference in my life. I'm not advertising the particular workshops, but it started me on a path of self-knowledge and spirituality that I hadn't known about before. So yeah, I think after like about age 50, 55, I've spent a lot of time just being, just becoming and being a softer person than I once was.
Softer on yourself or softer to the outward world?
To the outward world and to myself, really. I've spent much of my adult life feeling guilty for the choices I've made in my life, feeling guilty that I wasn't the model mother for my daughters because I was out protesting or, planning or plotting or going to school or doing whatever I was doing. And I know they suffered some because of it. I know that my husband suffered when we got divorced. It destroyed his vision of family, and that I had created that. I had caused that. So I went through a lot of just bad feelings about myself. And one of the things, and it'll be another poem that will end the book, it isn't finished yet, though, it's just a first draft, is that in my thinking in the last year, when writing about my life, I realized that this whole guilt thing is all bullshit. That I was really just part of a construct that had a definition of females as wife and mothers. And my not accepting the construct put me outside of it. And so that I got judged by others and myself as, quote, not a good mother. My daughters were similarly, they're caught up in the same paradigm. They're caught up in the, my mother never brings the cookies to school. My mother never this. And they're caught up in it. They would have liked more attention from me. They've both forgiven me. Yay. but still, it was just a needless suffering, and it will continue as long as restrictions are put on women, on the roles of women, all women, everywhere, all the time. That kind of thing. And for the most part, except for a golden moment in the 60s and 70s, when we believed that sisterhood was powerful, except for that, every woman fights it on her own, it seems. Every woman has to struggle on her own with, am I doing the right thing? When I go to work and leave my 2-year-old in the care of others, am I doing the right thing? When I make this choice or that choice, or choose to be married or not be married or whatever, it's the kind of choices that I don't think men have to make. And it's because the roles of women have been so restricted by virtually every society on the face of the earth. That's my rant for the evening.
Well, I think men also, have doubts or whatever. They also have concerns as to whether or not they've done the right thing by their family, by their friends, whatever, their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that is a problem just for the female sex. I don't think so.
I would say that when a man maybe has doubts about things that are going on in his life, it's much easier for that man or other people around that man to be able to say, oh, well, yes, this happened, but, the circumstances were hard, or you tried your best, or, something like that. But when a woman makes a mistake, or not even when a woman makes a mistake, but when a mistake occurs, like in the circumference of a woman, in the perimeter of a woman, it's your fault. You're inherently bad. This wouldn't have happened if you weren't here.
Mm-hmm.
You should have done better. You should have known better, even when it's not even within our control.
Mm-hmm. Of course, I agree completely. I do.
See, and I hate asking this question because it's like, usually I'm from the perspective of the black person talking to white people going, and I hate that question of I hate when someone asks me, what can I do to change things? Because I'm like, that's so lazy. You should go out there and do your own research. But here I am.
I'm gonna do it anyway. No, I got you.
Not that I'm gonna. You're right. No, let me just say what it is. I do. Yeah, I do want to know. Which makes me have more compassionate to my white fellows. I'm sorry for putting that much.
No, they're okay.
Issue on you. I know
but it's a good question.
Help,
it's a good question in the right context to ask.
It is. All I can tell you is what I've learned for myself over the last 2 years, and it's not the pandemic. It's on the issue of race. It's that I have been woefully ignorant, just woefully ignorant. I have not spent any time in my life learning anything about racism, about history of racism, about Black people as compared to white people, about heroes in world of color. I have spent not an iota of time in my life learning anything so that I can be aware. So really the last 2 years, I have been reading, I don't say this, I'm just saying this as an example of what I see is what I can do. I have been reading African-American writers almost exclusively. I have been reading African-American history. I have been reading political stuff because I think it's my job, my something to learn about what really is, because I've lived a life not knowing what I had no idea what life was like for an African-American U.S. citizen. I had no idea what everyday life was like. Not a clue. And I had made no effort to find out. Even through all my activism in the civil rights movement, I never took any time to find out. So, and I would say the same thing about women.
Yeah. No, you know what's funny is I'd probably say the same thing to a white person
Right.
about so you're that is hilarious that it
Yeah.
answers right there. That is good.
I
Yeah.
was just listening to
Duly
a
noted.
program, I think it was yesterday, about how people of the black race were found guilty of things that many things, so that it limited their ability to do things that the white man would not have been charged with.
Well,
And
to this day,
governments,
the director
Yeah,
of
and it's
Black
like
Panther, I believe,
unbelievable.
was arrested yesterday in regards to a bank robbery. This is yesterday.
oh, I haven't heard this.
Yeah.
You mean Ryan Coogler?
Mm-hmm.
You mean are you talking about Ryan Coogler? Yeah.
Yesterday.
To clarify, the director of the movie Black Panther, not the leader of the Black
The
Panther.
director of Black Panther.
Okay.
Yes.
Social group
I was like,
Oh.
he knew this day.
was mistaken for a bank robber
Oh, okay.
and then arrested.
okay.
The director of the
Oh.
Marvel film was
I see.
mistaken
Okay.
for a bank robber and then arrested and then released.
7 hours ago, handcuffed, wrongly accused.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It has certainly not
Okay.
stopped. Do you know, I watched when I was doing
Can you
civil
believe
rights.
that people?
Sorry.
Sorry. Can you believe that reporters were just getting the police reports from the police precinct and just like reprinting it, and that was the news? I mean, they still do, but like there was nowhere else to go for like information on something happening for like decade, like 70 years. That's just
Right.
That's just it.
Right. Yeah.
What surprises me, you just said that you had, Jean, that you had, very little knowledge of the situation
Yes.
for African Americans or people of the black race, and yet you said that you really worked in that area for many years, from what I understand, and that your children have followed suit in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that you didn't have the knowledge of why, but you still tried to be helpful, to make things better for society.
Yeah. But I didn't have the knowledge. I remembered being so shocked because, leaving aside outright racism, just leaving that aside for a moment, there are deep cultural differences in the two races, just deep cultural. And I saw when I was working in the Office for Civil Rights, most of the support staff was African American. Most of the professional staff was white when I first started there. And there was a lot of hostility between the two groups. And I remember trying to understand what the cause was of the hostility. And the support staff was almost entirely female. And one of the things that came out was that none of the professional staff ever said good morning to the support staff when they came into work. And saying that's not a silly thing, because saying good morning was a show of respect, a show of acknowledgement. I see you. And that caused a lot of upset, which at that time I thought, well, that's the weirdest thing. But I've come to realize it's because there are deep cultural differences in addition to racism.
Yeah. I mean, I'd even add to say that, like, coming in every day thinking, just the different jobs and coming from that world and seeing the different, like, I don't know. I also sometimes get offended when someone goes like, if you work harder or if you go to school, you can be a doctor or be a lawyer and be in this area. But like, what if you enjoy and your job that
Mhm.
you're doing is truly important? It's essential. Why do you have to feel like you have to? It's complicated. I was gonna say because it's a little bit like this is a complicated conversation, but I don't think that you should have to like, do all the extra work to get the respect of just to someone speak to you or to value your opinion because you are hands on with those customers or patients or whoever it is that
Mhm.
you're in the job with just as much as the
Right.
doctor or the lawyer. Um, and I think there is a little bit of not only disconnect of culture, but just plain out just like I think respect on just the different
Right.
given value for both jobs.
Right.
Both jobs are important. Um, I think yeah, not even saying thank you. You already don't get
Right.
paid as much, but then when they don't
It's like
say
you're part of the
good
furniture.
morning to you, it's like, come
It's
on.
not respectful.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And the furniture is really important too. Thank you, furniture as
I
well.
thank my house all
We
the
stand,
time.
where we sit.
I love my house.
They'll put protectant. They'll put protectant on the furniture. They'll spray protectant all over the furniture, but
I
won't give you
agree.
like health
Yeah,
insurance.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
That's cool. Hmm. Me thinking I was too old to go to school, and you're like,
That's
really,
correct.
Mm-hmm.
you're
Not
really
giving
not
you
Do
giving me any excuses
excuses.
here.
Do it.
Do you want to go to school
You're
for
right.
this?
You're right. No
Just
excuses.
do it.
it.
No, no. I want to go to school.
I don't want to.
Besides
But I
just
got no
not want
excuse not
to.
to want to go besides just not wanting to.
Hey, there's no way.
Law is boring to me too, Gene. I feel that.
Yeah.
But,
And you're acting, is that right?
yes, I'm in the pursuit of an acting career. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
From Georgia?
Yeah, it's the Hollywood of Georgia. So, um,
Oh, must be Atlanta.
it's the second or third biggest film and TV market in the country
Yeah.
right now. So it's really like the amount of auditions and projects going on are a lot more than almost anywhere else. So
Wow.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And are most of them, it seems like a lot of reality shows are shot there.
I've been obsessed with this show recently. I don't know if you've heard of it. Love is Blind. I found it like a week or two ago, and I binged the new season. But the first season was shot in
Wow.
Atlanta, and one of the women who's one of the leads of the show lives in like my sister building or whatever. So yeah, it's literally right here.
Ah.
But yeah, I don't think I would.
No, I'm a reality show freak. I love reality shows.
Yeah. Love is
I have to
Blind.
say, I watch my show. Oh, I would probably love it. I love them all.
What are you
90
watching,
Day
Gene?
Fiance. Oh my God. I love it.
Thank you.
Sierra was talking about that last
It's a vicious
week. I feel
cycle.
like,
90
right?
Day.
90 Day.
I was talking about
Yeah.
90 Day and Love After Lockup.
If you was, yeah,
It is.
you were.
It's
Yes,
I
it's
was
so
angry
good.
when my
I'm not doing
friends
that. It's gateway drug.
my two friends made me watch Love is Blind, and then I went home and I didn't sleep that night because I never watch reality TV, never. And then I stayed up till 5 a.m. binging the whole. And I knew it was stupid, but I couldn't stop. Like
That's funny.
yeah.
Sometimes it's funny
Yeah.
to be stupid.
Yeah.
Everybody, every time I hear,
Well,
I hear
like
the same thing. Everybody
I
says
felt
the
my
same
brain
thing.
rotting
not
because
fun.
I was
I'm not
like,
doing
this
it.
is not how a relationship should be. This is not how people should, date. This is not how romance
Right.
should be. And then I was like, well, what about in my romantic life? Like, so no.
I bet it's a good judging show. Like, there's this show where I don't know who, I can't remember who hosted, but it's like when you go into and shop, you get a certain amount of money,
Cooking-
and you
Oh,
come
cooking
I know
out
what
and
show?
you
you're
have to
talking
cook
about. I
it.
can't
It
remember
was
the
this
name
whole
of
little
it.
competition show, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You had to go to the like it was outside of in a parking lot, and then you would go in with with some money, and then you come out with you had to have to buy people's groceries and then go out there and cook.
I didn't
and then
think
they
of
would
them as reality TV, but I would audition and apply for a cooking show. I would have a lot of fun doing that. I think that'd be.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I rewatched the knife thing.
That type of insurance.
We did an episode where I cooked for an episode because it's a running joke. Like we've had a lot of chefs on and food people, and I'm not very good at it. And then everybody's like, "Oh, I'm sure you're fine." And then we did it, and then I watched playback this past week, and I'm stabbing at my fingers, like straight up, like.
That was wild.
I can't.
He just turned like a whole knife into like a nail.
Yeah,
and
like an Alfred
hammer
Hitchcock. But it didn't.
A knife into some
when I was
cabbage,
doing
like
it,
a
it
whole
didn't
head
look
of
like
cabbage.
it was just from the camera
with his
angle
fist.
that it looked like it.
No, it looked wild. It was so dangerous.
It was
so
funny.
dangerous.
You guys wanted to do it. I didn't want to.
I couldn't believe you put us through that.
Yeah.
I was gonna sit there on.
I wanted to see you cook. I didn't want to see you risk your
No.
life.
We want to see you cook.
It was
But they
delicious.
were good, right? They were good egg rolls.
What were you saying, Jean?
Yeah.
When I grew up going on radio shows, radio quiz shows, because we grew up in New Jersey, close enough to New York. We could go in, and that's where all the radio shows were at that time. So, my parents were always on these quiz shows because they were just looking for intelligent life in the audience to have contestants. And so we were on like the $64 question. We were on Name That Tune. We were on, they used to have Don McNeil's Breakfast Club where you would march around the studio. And I grew up doing that. So when I was like a teenager, an adult, I started going on, my whole family started going on TV quiz shows. So like I was on Jeopardy, ta-da, before Alex Trebek,
Whoa.
when it was Art Fleming was the
Ooh.
host. Yeah, Art Fleming. And I can tell you the question, the final Jeopardy answer the question that I lost on. You want to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
Where I lost all my money?
Yeah.
Okay. The history.
Yeah.
I mean, the category is American history. The answer is Leon Czolgosz. Do, 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 do.
Okay.
What is not American last name? I don't know.
No, see, I didn't know it either.
What is it?
He shot President McKinley.
Who?
Who's President McKinley? President of what?
Was he American?
Coca-Cola or I don't. Yeah.
Good question, actually, brother.
Are you? Wait, Gene, you were in politics, right? You were in politics after Jeopardy, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not then.
Wait.
Not that. It's like 16.
He's a 25th.
16th. Okay.
But what president
Thank you.
was it?
Thank you. And Leon Czolgosz was
Okay.
what was the word for it? Like I was going to say atheist. That doesn't not believe in God. It's
Agnostic.
it's somebody who does not believe in government.
Oh,
Anarchist.
Anarchist.
nice.
Yeah. He was an anarchist.
I'm super curious because you ran
anarchist.
successfully for office 3 times. From the inside,
Okay, so-
Yeah.
does politics just suck? Is it horrible or?
No,
Okay.
no. Remember now, I was in a little town,
Okay.
a little city of like 3,000 people, and it's really a resort sort of island. And we were paid, but some minimal amount of money. It was almost a volunteer job, and we were fighting the developers who were wanting to build high-rise condos along the whole shore, and block it off and tear down all the beach cottages and put up 10-bedroom houses for Airbnb rentals, for short-term rentals. And so, no, I had a lot of respect. And the office was nonpartisan. You weren't declared,
Okay.
although I was the only Democrat up there. But still, It was, I respected the people doing the job. At the local level, I think it's a whole different story than at the national level.
I guess it's just that I listen to a
You know,
lot
in the
of
state level.
podcasts and stuff with like really incredible people who get into politics and then they just find like total red tape and it just the system just is completely obviously really fucked up. And but I guess we had someone running for local government on like almost a year ago. I'm curious what happened with that actually, guys. Is it soon? Okay.
Yeah, it should be coming up soon.
I have a friend who is a political consultant, and she works in Georgia primarily, and she will only work for candidates who are either African American or female, preferably both. And she's been very successful in Georgia in winning or near candidates. And she does some in Florida and Mississippi too. But she thinks Georgia is just fertile ground for change.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have I worn you all out?
No. We're getting towards the end, but I did want to ask one other thing from before, and we don't have to get into it, but you were talking about fear of health and your poem about sort of up until your last minute and all that stuff.
Yep.
Aging and what comes after. You mentioned your spirituality a little bit. I mean, I'm just curious your thoughts on all of that. Is it a scary thing or a beautiful thing, or
Well, I probably dislike almost everything about aging. Almost everything I dislike. Yeah. Things bag and sag and drag and fall out and fall down and fall off and get diseased and bleh. It's a decaying process. I don't know if there's anything to enjoy about that decaying process. However, I am not fearful, I'm not fearful of dying.
Really?
That's just going to be what it is. I hope I do it with some class and dignity, but, other than that, I'm not fearful about it. I have no idea what happens afterward, although I do think souls hang around a long time after they're departed this earth. They just hang out and they sort of look out. I think they look out after us. I was many years ago when my granddaughter, who's now 30, was 10. I was flying with her somewhere to visit her grandparents, and it was good for her birthday. And she said, "Nana, what do you think happens when you die?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I suspect that, our essences, our souls, whatever you want to call them, our energy goes out. And if we need more work, we have to stay around and come back until we've learned everything there is to learn about being human." And she said, "I think so too, Nana." And I said, "Really?" She's 10. And she said, "I'm almost there, Nana." I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, but so are you."
Wow.
Now, God, the wisdom of a 10-year-old, my
Wait
God.
till she gets to middle
away.
school, and then it'll all circle back around, and then, yeah.
Yeah, and well, now she's 30,
Okay.
so I'm wondering what she's thinking now.
Yeah. Grandpa has a very similar, I would say, belief system as you.
That's so funny.
Mm-hmm. Your granddaughter is 30?
Yep.
Did you say your granddaughter's 30?
Yes.
You must have started young.
I was 20 and dumb.
20. Oh.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you're happy to have.
Are you, Grandpa?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He didn't answer.
For sure. I'm envious of you, Brandon, that you have your grandfather around. I'm envious of you. It's a really good thing.
My father's father passed when I was very little, but my mother's father, Grandpa, I feel like weirdly like coherent or whatever on the gratitude I have for that. I think when I was very little, he was sort of a figure for me that was really important, and I always recognize that. And I don't know why, because I guess yeah, I'm super grateful, super. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were a good kid too.
Yeah.
You were a very good kid. I took
Aw.
my 3 grandchildren to the mall one time. Was responsible for them
Any
to a department store, and they all ran in different directions. They were little kids. One went up the escalator.
Yeah.
One went drove me
No,
nuts.
good. Yeah. I would say we're getting close to the end. I would love to have a sufficient amount of time. We
Yep.
always go around and do last thoughts. Yeah, and I've loved this episode, so I'm curious what everybody's thinking right now. But yeah, Phines maybe.
My last thoughts. Yeah, I looking forward to looking at your book and reading about your book and learning about your life. And I think it's really cool that I just think that it's really good. You have so many people to speak for, and it's good that you're speaking to. I am glad I feel honored that we have a platform for you to be able to like talk to, because there's so many people that you really
Thank you.
find what you're saying beneficial.
Sie-
So
Thank
Sierra.
you.
thank you for coming on. Mhm.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, Jean. I really enjoyed talking to you. And I cannot wait to read your book and explore more about the Old Women Who Write website. I want to see all the features and all the different. I see you've got like a huge array of different authors on here, so I can't wait to look through it.
Grandpa.
You seem like a very happy person. You have a lovely smile. You have bright eyes. You look like you've enjoyed life, and
I
you're
have.
enjoying it.
For both of you guys, did it go by quick or feel like an eternity?
You're
80
talking about
years,
the,
yeah.
the time of our life. Well, sometimes it seems very fast, and other times it seems more slow. It
Depends on the
it
episode.
varies for me.
What about you, Gene?
That's part of it.
Well, yeah, I realized I never just did really talk about the website, Old Women Who Write. And I started it because of the enjoyment I was getting about writing, about my own life. And I realized that we women in our 70s, 80s, and 90s, that's who the website is for, to encourage women to write. I don't care if it's a family history. I don't care if it's a journal, that you write, or if it's a fiction, murder mystery, or writing about your life. But it's such an important form to me of expression that I really want to encourage women to do it. I wanted to tell I'll tell a really quick story that will tell also how when I was in my 50s visiting my parents, my father, who was an elder in the First Reformed Church of Pompton Plains, New Jersey, said to me something about, well, Jean, did you know that my family is Jewish? Now, I was in my 50s, and this had never come to my attention. And I said, what are you talking about? And he told me the entire story about how his grandfather, Maximilian, had come over as a teenager on a cargo ship, that his family lived on a border, I don't know what town, between Germany and Poland, and the Polish side, or excuse me, on which side? The point was it kept changing hands, the town. And every time the Germans had it, there was a pogrom or some sort of harassment at the very least. And that he and his brother had just had it, and they wanted to come to the United States. So they jumped on a cargo ship and came in. My great grandfather jumped off in Passaic, New Jersey. His brother went on to South America and he never saw him again. And when he landed, he declared himself to be a Catholic. And he joined the Catholic Church. And he married and had children, and they all became Catholics. And then one day when the priest was berating the congregation for not giving enough money, he stood up, the whole family, and walked out of the church and became a Protestant. So, I think my life of, fuck you, pardon my French, my life of just do it, had roots, somewhere in my ancestors that showed up. They risked, took a huge risk, left everything. Do you hear that, Phines? Took a huge risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speaking to you.
I'm about to do it.
All right, that's it for me. I've just had a great time with you guys. I thank you guys, and I kept saying, Sierra, I was bringing some estrogen for you, so
I appreciate it.
Hey, Jean, where
Really
can
good
everybody?
time. I thank
where
you
can
all.
everybody find your socials, websites, links, all that stuff? If you want to quickly shout that out for.
Okay. Sure. The website is www.oldwomenwhowrite.com. I also have a Facebook group called, strangely enough, Old Women Who Write. And that's really picking up in popularity. That's it. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I cannot conquer Snapchat. But that's okay. Dr. Phil told me yesterday Snapchat is now bad. They're selling drugs on Snapchat.
Always.
No,
always.
not worth it. Don't do it. Snapchat is so sussy. Don't do it.
Are they? Oh, you can find that in your neighborhood. It's all right.
Thank
Thank
you so
you
much
all.
for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really
Phines.
enjoyed
Thank you, Sierra.
having you
Grandpa,
on as a
I love
guest.
you.
Terrific.
Thank you to our audience. Thank you to our first Patreon. Appreciate you.
Podcasting with Grandpa Bart and Rosie, always on his shoulder. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Grandpa and Chill is brought to you by your hosts, Brandon Fox, Bart Frank, and Phines Jackson. Our producer is Sierra Doss. You can find episodes old and new on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the show, and follow us on Twitter for behind-the-scenes moments you can't get anywhere else.